Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. I am Jim Coppinger with ZenTek Consultants, and this is our presentation today on what's new in Civil 3D 2021. So we appreciate all you guys being here. Before we get into the presentation, just a few quick housekeeping items. Because this is a public presentation, we do keep all the students' microphones and telephones muted. But if you guys do have questions, feel free to type them in either into the questions box or the chat box, whichever works for you is fine. I have both open on my monitor, my second monitor here at all times. And I'm not going to take, go through the presentation here, so I'm not going to answer those in real time, but I have allotted the slot at the end of this presentation to address any questions that come in as I go through the slide deck and the presentation today. So just feel free to type in your questions as we go. All right, so with that, let's get into today's presentation. All right, so for those of you who haven't worked with us before or aren't familiar with us, we're ZenTek Consultants, and we work in the AEC and manufacturing industry to help all of our clients develop and implement the software that they need to the best means possible. So really, whatever it is, regardless of what platform you're using, chances are we can help. So we hope you guys hit our website and see all the good things that we can do for you. All right, so today we're talking about the upgrades, the new important things in this year's version of Civil 3D. And to my mind, that really comes down to four basic positive, enhancements that they really put in place. And to my mind, the two I'm going to focus on the most part today are the first and the last one you see up here, right? I'm going to talk about improvements to the pressure network design process, which I think is a really nice upgrade they've made. We'll talk about the integration and exchanging, bridge designs with Infraworks a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about Dynamo in Civil 3D and its upgrades, and then we'll talk a little bit about using enhanced reference templates, which is something that was actually part of the 2020 extended package, and they've integrated now as a primary function in 2021. I think that those are the big things. There's a little a number of little background changes and so on, but these are the big ticket items that are really, I think, going to have the most impact on your work process. All right, so with that said, I am going to go over and I'm going to jump over to Civil 3D 2021. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about here are the pressure pipe network changes, because they're pretty substantial, and it's something that I've been kind of waiting for a long time, and I think they've done a pretty good job as far as I can tell in the 2021 setup here, Autodesk has. So we're going to start off just by going ahead and talking about pipe networks. All right, so traditionally we would go in and we would go to our pressure network creation tools, right, and create a new pressure network. Now you guys may be familiar with this dialog box. Now the thing here is that they've added an entirely new concept, actually a couple of new and really good concepts to the pressure pipe network structure here. The first concept is that they've added the ability to create pipe runs instead of just pipe networks. Okay, so in other words, up till now with a pressure network, there was one network, right? And any pipe that was connected to that network was all part of one big massive named item. So all of the materials, all the components, all the labeling, everything had to be the same. And what they've done is they've added in the concept right here, you can see, of pipe runs, right? And pipe runs give you the ability to make kind of sub conditions, right? So if we were to go in and define a full, this is just our water network, right? This is the overall water network, right? As part of that, I can go in and I can have different mains. So this is main A, okay? So if I have different water mains, different pipe connections, existing main, new main, proposed main A, B, C, D, whatever I have, I can name and run those separately, right? And that really, you'll see when we get a little while, that really can play a big part in what you're doing. As always, you have your typical creation, right? We're going to use the standard water tools, right? Pick a default pipe size. I'm going to tie this to a surface, right? And one of the other additional items that we have here, right, is to create a surface profile to follow. And this is fantastic. What this does is it allows me, seeing here, I'm going to put in a cover of 3 feet. What just checking that box will do is that it ties the top of your pipe to this surface, so that when the surface is modified, it will move your pipe run up and down to always maintain the cover that you need for your water pipe. So that alone, I think, is a really, really huge positive. I can tie this and reference like we always could to any standard alignment. I'm going to do that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to label. The only thing I'm going to label here are the fittings, and the label styles in this example drawing are not pretty, but they'll work for today. All right, and then you just go ahead and I'm going to create a new pressure network. And I get the setup here, but one of the things you're gonna notice right away is that the old compass rows is actually gone from the pipe network part structure. Right? And the reason for that is that it's really tied much more tightly into using kind of standard drafting and design setup. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna start my pipe network here. Right? And you'll see that what I have, right, what I've done here is I've turned on my my polar snaps, right, so that I can go in and I can actually start drafting things. But you notice that as I go in and I start changing and modifying designs, right, you see I'm just kind of working my way up here, right, to set angles, okay, and then I'm turning, right, to wherever I need to be for different set angles wherever I want them to be here, and I'll just throw one up here at the end and go good enough and end that run, right? And you see that what happens, right, is that in the new version here, right, it's automatically putting in the correct size elbows for me based on my drafting settings, right? So it's shifting me between, right? You can see this is an 11 1/4. I think most of these are pretty, yeah. See these two are 22 1/2. Right, so I'm just going to grab these labels. This is why I kind of label these so I can just pull these off pretty easily. So you can see that these two over here, right, those are 22 1/2 degree bends. These are 11 1/4 degree bends. And the availability of the bends will do still, as they always have, depend on what's in your parts list. Right? But you see that it automatically placed the correct size bend for me, which is a major improvement. I don't have to go in and manually tell it which angular bend I want at any given location. Now, what's really, really nice about this upgrade with 2021 that I like, again, notice that, this bend right here, right, that's a 22 1/2 degree elbow. Now, what's really nice about this is that if I go in and I modify and I change the pipe coming into it, let's say I'm going to move that pipe over here to kind of, I'll move it up to like a 45 degree bend or so, right? See what it did? See, it says that's now a 45 degree elbow. You see it does actually change it to a 45. Okay. If I go in and I bend this pipe more and say, hey, let's take that to like a 90 degree turn. See, it switches that to a 90 degree bend and it puts the 90 degree bend in place for me. Okay. So I can use basic grip editing now to just go in and rearrange and restructure and adjust where my pipes are. And 2021 will actually update all of those individual components, which is a huge, huge time saver and a major benefit. I'm a big fan of that. Okay. So I really, really like that. One other thing that they've added in here, and I'm just going to kind of go over here, and you see that here what I have is just a simple alignment, right? Center line of road alignment here. One of the things that you can actually do now with pressure networks, right, is I can create pressure network from objects. Now, I was able to do that in the previous releases, but what they've done, right, is they ask you for an object, and I'm just going to pick that alignment right there. Right, and you see that it gives me the chance to, it's showing me the current alignment direction, but I can change that. I'm just going to leave it, right? And here's the huge benefit of this, and I really, really like this a lot. They've added an additional feature in here, okay, when you're dealing with this, right? So you see I go in and I'll make this. Actually, you know what? Before I'm going to cancel this, I'm going to do with this, so just so it's in the same network, just to show you. I'm going to go into the prospector here, and I'm going to go to pressure networks, water networks, and you see that I have a whole section here on pipe runs. So even though this right now maybe doesn't connect over here, but later down the road, I want to be able to connect that and that. I want them to be in the same network, but they're completely different runs. So I can actually run that same command, add pipe run from objects over here, just so you can right click everything out of there, and then I can do the exact same setup so that it's in the same network instead of two different networks. Okay, so you see now it defaulted. It's no longer asking me for a network. This is part of the water network, even though there's no connection yet between them. So I'm going to use the same water list. I choose my pipe sizes, right? I'm going to create the surface proceeds using all kind of the same defaults. The big thing here is this concept of a horizontal offset distance. This allows us to go in and actually create a pipe that is offset to the left or the right of this alignment, right? So again, it's all depending on the direction, right? So if I want it on the left side of the road here, I'm going to put this over at -5, right? 3 feet. So that's going to create a pipe that is 5 feet to the left of the center line, 3 feet below the surface. And I've got it tied to the surface, right? And I can just go ahead and say, okay, and I'm not going to erase the existing end. I want to leave that center line of road alignment. Just say, okay, and just like that, you see it created that pipe at a 5 foot offset. And here's what's really nice about it, what I really like. Notice that because my source object was curved, it put the curved pipe in for me. So when you're dealing with curved pipe and PVC and so on, you can really bend these around just about anything that you need, okay, which is really, really great. And one last tool that I did want to show you guys here, I'm just going to go in real fast, right? And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to create All right, another pipe run. I'm just going to right click, but this time it's going to just a straight pipe run. I'm going to do it from scratch. All right, and we can call it whatever we want. We can call it main B. Okay, all right, and same thing. I can set the cover, create surface profile. All right, I can tie it to a road alignment if I need to. I'm not worried about it right now. What I'm going to do here, all right, is I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to draw a pipe kind of from here, right, and I'm going to go perpendicular to my pipe over here. I'm going to go perpendicular to the center line of this pipe, right, and then hit enter and just let it put it in. And look what it did. The moment that I put in that perpendicular structure, see that it automatically put in a T with the correct sizes for me, right? Same thing, right? If I go in and I put another one in, I'm going to do one more run, right? I'm going to take the pipe run, I'm going to add another pipe run here, right? And I'm just going to leave it be whatever it is, right? Then I'm just going to go from here to here. Okay, I'm not going to connect it yet. Right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grip this. I'm going to pull this point in, right? And I'm actually going to pull this pipe over that one. So now you see I've got two crossing pipes. Okay, now what I can do, right, is that I can go up here on my pipe setup, right? I'm just going to select this pipe, okay? And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add a branch fitting, right? And then I can pick this pipe and this pipe. And you see that it automatically puts in a four-way? Right? You can adjust and put in the ties with the correct sizing, right? If it's reducing, if you're connecting a 10 and an 8 or a 6 and an 8, it'll actually put in the correct size fitting as long as it's in your parts list, and clean it up and structure a whole setup. And beyond that, you still have all your traditional, extend fittings, continue layout designs, right? Whatever you need to do. And you see it goes in and it adds in automatically all the correct setup. So huge benefits, major changes to the pressure networks that make your life so much easier. One of the nicest changes they've made to the pipe structures in quite a while. So I'm a big fan of those. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that. Okay, so that's a big thing that we've done there. All right, now other items that we've done in the 2021. They've integrated Infraworks, Revit, and Civil 3D together in terms of roadway corridors. Now, I'm not going to show you a full-blown setup here because it really does involve the idea. Let's just explain the idea, right? The idea here is that in 2021, what we can do is we can take any roadway corridor that we've designed, we can export it out to Infraworks. It will build that corridor in Infraworks for us. Then we can do bridge design and rail design and extensive, presentation and sizing and so on in Infraworks, particularly the bridge design, right? And then we can actually export from Infraworks to Revit to finalize the bridge design, do all the detail and the construction documents. Then any changes and modification can be pushed back to Infraworks and then back into Civil 3D. So it kind of creates this round trip functionality, right? And again, most of that work and most of the processing happens in Infraworks, which isn't really what we're talking about here today. But just to kind of at least show you guys, right, that you can go in, right, and you can just go to the Output tab and you can just export any Civil 3D data, right, particularly your road corridors, right, that will go out and you'll save it as an IMX file that can then be imported into Infraworks, right, and then transferred over. And then when you're done in Infraworks, right, they can save that IMX file and you can go into the import or the insert tab, sorry, right? And you see you can actually open the Infraworks model and you can just browse out to where it is and you see you can just bring in, right, that IMX file, right? So it just gives you the ability to work back and forth between those three systems interoperably. It's nice, but it does require a good bit of training and work. So to me, it's a nice setup, it's a nice change, but it's not one I think that all of us are going to use on a daily basis. The other thing that they've done, for those of you, so the 2020 release, they had integrated Dynamo into Civil 3D. It was a separate download and an add-on. And what we've done in 2021, Autodesk has actually incorporated Dynamo. You see it's already in here. It's no longer a separate download or installation. It's actually integrated directly into the standard Civil 3D install. So all of you guys will have this in your 2021 setup. And they've done one other thing with this. So let's just, Dynamo, I'm just going to go ahead and launch Dynamo here. Just to kind of show you what Dynamo is if you're not familiar with it. It is a coding program, but it's a visual coding program, right? So in other words, I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to open up a standard kind of setup here, right? You can see it's just kind of a standard drag and drop visual programming interface. It's almost like scripting, right? Where you can put in and tie items together and say, when this happens, ask a question, and then depending on the answer, do this or this. So you're kind of going in and just kind of, visually mapping your connections, right? And you see you've got tools and features specifically for AutoCAD and Civil 3D and different types of objects within Civil 3D. So you can kind of build it. It's really nice for any kind of, repetitive processes, repeatable process you have to do on every job. All right, so it gives you the ability to do your own customizations, really, with a very high degree of code capability and options, right, without having to be a professional, VB or list programmer. So it is a very useful tool, right? And to go with that, they've upgraded in 2021. They've incorporated what they call the Dynamo Player. Right? Rather than, in the previous versions, you'd have to go in, you launch Dynamo, then you'd have to load the file through the app load and see if it worked, and maybe it did, maybe it didn't. With Dynamo Player, right, you can actually go in, right, and you see you can actually load and save the files, right, and you see you can load multiple files just by opening them up. Just browse out to where you save them, right, bring them in, keep, entire folders of your customizations, and then right here, you can just go in and just play, right, any of those customs just by hitting the button. You see it'll run the program and work it here on screen. Right? And I don't even know which one I clicked on. I just add text and circle on quarter feature lines. Okay, I'm not even sure what that's really doing, but right, that's the idea. Right? And of course, I picked one that is taking forever. I think I got an error with it. Oh, of course I would. Why wouldn't it? Right? The one that I shouldn't have clicked on is the one I clicked on. Right? So that's the idea with that. Right? It's running the script and it won't seem to stop it. It doesn't. It was a bad one to choose. Right? Well, that was a mistake. Right? But that's the idea of being able to work with that, right? So I'm gonna see if I can continue on without Dynamo or leave Dynamo. And it looks like it's kind of frozen up my 2021. That's not good. All right, see if I can close that out. There it goes. All right, there it is. All right, I was able to finally close out, and then the Dynamo thing had finally caught up. There it goes. All right, sorry about that, folks. I didn't realize it would take that long. But you can see there's an automated process for labeling spot elevations that I hit. Okay, so that's the kind of thing you can do. You can automate those repetitive processes. So the other thing that they've done is they've incorporated, and again, this was something from 2020, which is the idea of enhanced reference templates. Right? And these are really, really useful. Again, they're up here on the Manage tab. Okay, and you see that depending on whether you're in a drawing or a template, they're over here under the Style setup. All right, the idea with a reference style or a reference template is that you can actually, instead of having to define the hundreds and hundreds of different countless, Civil 3D label styles, Civil 3D settings, layer controls, all of that within every single file, what you can do is create a standard drawing template, one master template that will contain all of your Civil 3D styles and settings, and then you can reference those into other drawings. Okay, and other templates actually, so that you can actually go in and work with those. So the first thing you would normally do, right? I'm just going to go in real quick and I'm just going to show you. You can go in and you start. I'll do new from a template here. And let's use the standard AutoCAD Civil 3D. And you see that when I'm doing a template file, oh, I didn't want to do a new from template. Actually, I wanted to open up a template. Sorry, not what I wanted to do. All right, I want to go in and I want to actually open, right, a drawing template. Because when you open a drawing template, and I'll just open up that Autodesk Civil Imperial, you get an extra tool in 2021, right, which is the set reference template default. So, and that will only show up when you're in an actual DWT file, right? So I can go in and set the template defaults. And this will allow me to go through and choose all of the Civil 3D items that I want to be able to share with other drawings. So you say I can go in, I can choose all of the different styles, which ones I want, which ones I don't want. Right now, by default, everything's kind of chosen, but I can uncheck everything, right? Same thing with settings, right? General drawing settings, right? What object layers I'm using, abbreviations, right? All of the standard, right? Your feature settings, layers, layer controls, right? Other resources, right? Like blocks and textiles and line types can be shared, right? Property sets that you can build, right? So I can choose and really set up in the template all the items that I want. Then when you get to a drawing, all you have to do is reference, right? And you see that now I can just go in and using this plus sign, right? I can just reference in that template. And you see now all of my settings, all of my styles, everything is being pulled instead of from my settings being maintained here within this example drawing. They're being pulled and structured from my master file, right? So it gives you, one central location where you can actually go in and make sure that, you know, your CAD manager or your senior designer, whoever's handling it, can have one source of truth where you can keep all of the correct settings for Civil 3D 2021 and have those pushed out to every drawing. You can even go back and do this to existing files. So if you have drawings that you're working on today and you go and you set up a reference template tomorrow, you can just go back in and load it, and it will override and reset, right, any styles that were here in the current drawing. It'll alter and use these. So really powerful tool. I'm a big fan of that. So those are really, to my mind, the biggest components, the biggest add-ons to Civil 3D 2021. Right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and bounce back to the slideshow here, and it'll take a minute. And it does look like I had a couple of questions come in. I got a question from Victoria. How do you keep pipes on angles like 22.5 and 45? Oh, yeah, for that, Victoria, like I said, the key with that, because it's really gotten back to more of just a base drafting instead of the compass rose, like I was saying, what I had set here is I had actually gone in, I'm using just polar tracking, and I just set the 11.25 as my current default, so that as I'm drawing, everything's being locked down into those, you know, 11. So even if you do like a polyline, when you go to draw it, say the green line is give me every 11.25 degrees, so that I can easily set to the right angles. That's how I worked with that. Okay. A question from Jeremy. Are there example Dynamo files I can use to get familiar with the program? Yeah, there are the built-in examples that I kind of showed you, right, when we were doing the Dynamo stuff. Right, so yeah, if you go up under the Dynamo, right, you see down here at the bottom there are a bunch of sample files for AutoCAD and Civil 3D, and you can find a lot more of these, Jeremy, just doing a quick Google search. There are lots of them out there available. Okay, and I have one more question from Ariel or Ariella. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. With style references, can you link multiple template files? Can I connect a master to road utility landscape type templates? Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, the idea is that if you're using multiple templates and you only want to have, you know, 10 or 15 Civil 3D styles in your road template and 10 in your landscape and 10 in your utility plan, you can keep one master DWT template and then reference from one drawing template to another drawing template. Okay, so that's kind of the big structure and setup there. And I got another question just came in from Tyler. What are the changes to editing profiles of pressure pipes? Yeah, same things, right? The biggest thing, and I don't really have the setup done in here, but the idea, the biggest thing is that when you tie that, when I was building the pressure pipes, Tyler, when I go in and I created the pressure creation tools, when I had this create surface profile to follow, the big key here, the biggest change, right, is that when you go in and you're modifying these and you adjust the surface, or if I pull this roadway surface, if I pull that up, it'll also pull up the pipes to match and maintain that 3 feet of cover. Okay. Alternatively, the other thing, the compass rose disappears from there as well, just like it does in plan, so that I can do the angular measurements and it'll automatically place the setups in there. And there is one additional feature which I didn't get into today, that does allow you to put in kind of a 45 bend automatically now. Right. So that's the biggest changes that are going on in there. Okay. And I think that's all the questions. We're actually getting close to the end of time here. So with that, I'm going to jump back to the slideshow here. To point out to you guys, I hope you guys take a few minutes and come listen to our Cattle Call podcast, talking about all things in the CAD and design world. You can catch us on all of the major podcast hosting services, Spotify and iTunes, or you can pick us up off of ZenTekConsultants.net. And I also want to encourage all of you guys to take a minute and look at our ZenTek Civil Engineering Hub, ZenTekCivilHub.learnworlds.com. It has hundreds and hundreds of hours of recorded training specifically focused on civil and survey worlds, right? Getting into all things with, Civil 3D and civil design and other softwares related to the industry. We got tips and tricks and discussion boards and blog posts and vlogs and just an inordinate amount of resources available for everybody in the civil engineering arena. So we hope you guys will pay us a visit, right? And we even offer a free trial. So get on and check it out, get some benefit for yourself. And if you guys do have any questions, you can reach out to us, sales@ZenTekConsultants.net, or you can hit the website or call the number on the screen. Other than that, thank you guys for joining today and have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.